It might be just another day to you out there in the podcast audience, but for me, it's a very special milestone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 33.
That's enough. We're gonna get copyrighted.
It's literally already happened once, so we're just asking for it. But welcome back to the 1 Hour One Brain Cell podcast, hosted by yours truly and my co-host Richie, who for the minute his Wi-Fi is working really well, so we're gonna cross our fingers and hope that stays.
I am joined by my co-host Jordan, who I'm sure is really, really jealous that I managed to find the viral Alani Beetlejuice can, which apparently is like limited edition.
I mean, I didn't go looking for it. I didn't know that thing existed until you sent it to me. But I was like, that's kind of a cool collaboration. I'm with it. I'm a big fan of the movie and the Broadway musical, and I will be there for probably opening weekend. I think. I don't know yet. It's in my plans.
A couple weeks away. First of all, I noticed that they changed the logo, so it's now like if you look, it's X. They have the stupid X logo there instead of the bird, the Twitter bird.
That's lame.
All right, so I don't know. First of all, I don't really drink Alani. I don't know if it's any good. I don't know if you have any experience drinking this.
I had one time that somebody brought in for us. I think they brought one into the pool one time, and it was fine, but it's got a lot of caffeine in it, like compared to an 8-ounce Red Bull, which is usually my drink of choice, which I think usually has 80, and Alani's got like what 100 and 160,
this is 200. This is 200, yeah.
So those are no joke. That's a full strength can right there. But I'm interested to know what it tastes like.
Yeah, so it's supposed to taste like caramel apple. That's what I've been told.
I too have my special beverage. So we're both special beverages here on the podcast.
Oh my god. I love that. Incredible.
I had to do that without laughing.
I have a follow-up question in a second after I drink this.
Okay. The sampling noise.
Tastes like caramel. Tastes exactly like caramel. With like a little. You know those candies? Those like caramel apple candies? They're like lollipops.
Yep, yes, the ones that have so they have the green apple outside, but then they've got the caramel apple filling. Those are good, by the way. Those are good, but that's exactly what this.
Oh yeah, that's what this tastes like. Yeah, so I'm actually surprised. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it. Like I thought it was gonna be maybe a little bit too sour, but this is like, yeah. It's good. I'll drink it this one time, and then I'll enjoy it, and that'll be it. So
I'll have it this one time, and it was good enough for this one time, but never again. Thanks. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so quickly, my follow-up question to the Max Verstappen sponsored water jug.
My unsponsored water jug. Yeah.
How long did that take you to do?
Maybe 5 minutes. Like it's just, I don't know, it's just orange highlighter, but like it is what it is. So the whole concept of this is because I told myself I need to start drinking more water because I'm not usually very good about it if I don't have constant access to a water fountain like I do at work usually. Because if I'm there, I'll just keep filling it like it's no big deal. But when I'm at home, I feel bad about like, I don't know, I don't go to the fridge as much and refill my bottles and stuff. So it's like maybe if I visually have a representation of how much water I've drank throughout the day, and if I can get this jug down to like roughly halfway in a day, it's like that's a That's like 60 ounces of water. That's a good fluid intake. And then I slapped a little tag on it for today's episode. So here she is. Here's my water jug.
There it is.
You remember that in high school when all the football players would roll in with their water jug? And it was like you had to drink the whole. The coaches would tell them they had to drink the whole jug in a day or something because they had like 2-a-day practices.
I don't recall that happening in my high school, but it's probably why our football team is terrible.
Well, ours wasn't good either, but at least they made them drink water. But it was like a badge of honor that like they would walk in with their silly little water jug every day and they had to finish their gallon, and it was a thing. So
good. I'm glad we're both hydrating on the show today. That's a good thing. I like that.
yeah, it's gonna be well taken care of. We're so hydrated and moisturizing and not in our lane here on the podcast. Okay, where do we want to start? Because we've got a little bit of everything today in the show notes, and none of it really makes sense together. So just pick something. Dartboard.
Just pick something. Let's see. Yeah, why don't we why don't we kick it off with our shorter topics that we have? How about we do that first, and then so we can go from bottom to top. So we'll go in reverse order.
Okay, I'm with it. That's
I'll save the worst part for last.
No kidding. Yeah, I want to talk about that as little as humanly possible. Okay, so in the middle of, I guess it was between last week's podcast and this one, I think, Taylor dropped a new music video for I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. And it's just got some tour bits of like rehearsing the new Tortured Poets segment of the Eras tour of the show. And it's got some behind the scenes from a lot of that. And I don't know, it was I thought it was a cute little tribute to like the tour so far, because the biggest chunk of it is over at this point. Thoughts, favorite moments?
Yeah, I loved it because it gave us we've had the same question for the entirety of the tour, which is two things. Number one, how does she fit inside the cart that takes her to the stage? That's number one. And number two, what happens when I can't get over the drinking of the massive drink of water?
Well,
Every time you do that when I'm talking, you're gonna make me crack up. It's gonna happen for the next hour straight.
That's the power that I have, is if you get on a topic, I can derail it entirely. It's like, oh, sorry, what were you saying? Anyway.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do the show with my eyes closed, and that way I have no idea what's happening. But anyway, perfect. I was gonna say that
the blind leading the blind.
Exactly. I was gonna say that so we had the cart, and then we also wanted to know what happens when she jumps underneath the stage before we get to the Midnights section of the show. And so we got both of those answers, which was great. We got to see her, the fact that she sits, there's like apparently a little seat inside this cleaning cart that takes her to the stage so that she can like sit down. And then also when she jumps into the what happens underneath the stage, she jumps into a massive like little like what do you call it, like little,
it's like a stunt mat essentially.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah exactly.
I don't know.
I was curious the entire
mat. It's like
time.
what you would use for, I don't know, gymnastics or something to like practice flips, but it's safe to land in.
Yes, exactly. And so I think I even texted you. I was like, yes, we finally found out what happens when she jumps underneath the stage.
Yeah, it was like, where does she go? How does she, is it like, how are you landing? She's full sending it when she goes to do that bit where she like swims under the stage. It's not a gentle step off the stage. It's, I'm gonna flat out dive for it. And that was funny to see that she really does just kind of smack on this pad at the bottom. It's like, okay, well, that's what we're doing. And then it kind of runs along the underside because the stage is huge. If you don't know anything about the Eras Tour stage, it's massive. Like getting from the main part of the stage or even like halfway down that catwalk all the way back to the top or all the way back to the diamond is a long way. And we've seen some artists like run up and down the length of that catwalk, and it's huge. So it's got like a little runner system underneath so that obviously you don't have to walk under there and smack your head on all the beams that are holding up the stage. It's kind of interesting. I would love to watch a whole just documentary on how they break down and set up for that every night at different stages and different venues and stuff because it's got to be a heck of a process.
Maybe we'll get a entire Eras Tour doc so we can see just that. That'd be dope.
That's what some people are suggesting, that the footage for this was
Mm-hmm.
not solely for this music video.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be cool. I don't know. She's already done the Eras Tour film, so maybe it's close enough that they wouldn't decide to do a documentary, but it's still cool. I'm a fan.
Because people were sharing footage from this, I believe in London, and they were like filming behind the scenes stuff. Like there were cameras that were following her, like while she's in the cart, and that was just this past weekend. So that means that you never know. You never know what she's got up her sleeve.
You truly never know, and that's the horrifying part of being a Taylor Swift fan, is that anything could happen at any time, and you never know. Psychologically, it's terrifying.
So true, so true. As we've both learned over the course of the past year,
Yeah, no
multiple
kidding.
times.
Being asleep when something Taylor Swift related drops is like actually the worst thing in the world. And it's happened. It's happened a lot. It was, I think,
Mm-hmm.
famously there was somebody on Twitter that's like gone camping or something every time she's dropped a new album and like doesn't have cell service. You're like, if I come back and she's dropped a new and it's happened more than once, people are like, stop going camping. That's a fear. It could happen. It could happen at any
Mm-hmm.
time to anyone.
Right.
So I don't know. All right. Taylor Swift season is always. But pumpkin spice season, I guess, is here. I didn't know that until I saw a TikTok of someone twerking in a pumpkin costume in a Starbucks on my TikTok For You page yesterday. Is it officially, it's officially time? The flavor is back in stores?
Yes, yeah. It gets earlier and earlier every year. I think at this point we figured that out. But yeah, so the Starbucks is they have their pumpkin spice fall drinks out now. And so in the past I've been I love me some pumpkin cream cold brew. I'll raise my hand and I will say that is delicious. However, this was like the first year in the last like 3 or 4 years where I did not get it on day one, which I was like, man, what have I become that I'm not getting the pumpkin spice latte, pumpkin cream cold brew on day one? What's wrong with me?
Fight the man, fight capitalism. No,
Actually, that was
I'll swear
exactly
to
my
that.
thoughts.
I'll swear to that. I'm a pumpkin spice latte girly. They're good. I don't know what you want me to say. They're good, but I also can't justify spending that much money on Starbucks when I know that I have coffee at home if I decide to make it, or I have like a chai latte at home if I decide to make it, or I have an energy drink that's 250 versus like a 650 this big thing with pumpkin
Hmm.
spice flavoring in it, and it's hard for me to justify that unless I'm like at an airport. Maybe, I don't know why airports feel like Starbucks zones to me, or if it's being paid for by somebody else, in which case yes, I'll take it.
Hmm. That's exactly why. That's why I decided not to get it because I don't. I try not to go out for coffee as much as I used to because it's like $8 a piece nowadays, man. With a tip and everything, it's like, eh, maybe you should stay off. So I don't go get coffee as much as I used to, and if I do, I always go and go to a local shop instead, and not like your chains. So
That's a good choice. I don't know. I like that. Feels more ethically justifiable than giving $8 to Starbucks every time there's like the slightest gust of fall in the air. I'm like, eh, I can
plus
live
it's
without
still
it.
it's too early. It's too early. We're not even into September yet. Can we wait till after Labor Day
Yeah,
and then
like
we can talk
it's
about
hot
it?
right now.
Dude,
It's
it's
90
still
degrees where I live
105
right now.
degrees.
Yeah, it's hot.
Yeah.
It's not pumpkin spice season yet. Slow your roll, ladies and gentlemen. Slow your roll. However, I
Exactly.
will say
I agree.
that pumpkin loaf that's got like I think they sell it year round, but it's got like the little like the seeds in it. It's like the pumpkin bread that they have at Starbucks. That is good year round, and I will allow that one. But your pumpkin flavored drinks, I have to draw the line until it gets cold enough for that.
True. I agree. I agree. I'm also one of those people that is especially when it comes to like I'm more of a wait until like October. Once we get to the month of October, maybe that's just an Arizona thing. I don't know. But once we get to October, that's when I feel like we're really into fall because we're in the month of Halloween and then we're in the month of postseason baseball and like that. Those are like the two things I was like, okay, now we're really into the fall now.
Yeah, I'm like until I see a leaf change color or fall off of a tree, we're not there yet. It's far too early. There's still people back to school
Changing colors
shopping
of
right now.
trees, that 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 happens.
That's true. You don't
Trees
have
can
that where
change
you
color.
live. Yeah. You don't have that. You have the trees die aspect, but you don't have the trees
Yes.
changing color aspect. Yeah. Yeah,
No,
we
no,
suffer
we
through
have
we suffer through winter
brown.
here so that we get all four seasons progressively.
Yeah, right.
It's fair. I think that's a fair trade. All right. You have the master chart this week. And last week I
Hmm.
was the only person who didn't do any research on this topic because progressively for the people that weren't here last week, I guess I should probably fill you in on what's happening instead of just throwing you into the fire here. So for anyone who wasn't with us last week, we have a month now. Exactly. We have a month until our Julien Baker concert that Richie and I are going to. And over the course of the next couple of weeks, we've decided that we're going to fill out this chart that Richie found on the JB Reddit. Um, it's got some interesting categories on it, but essentially we're ranking songs and we're ranking albums on our way to the concert. And we filled out some last week. I probably could not tell you what we decided for each of those things because I have the memory of a goldfish. But I was the only person who didn't prepare last week. Richie prepared some answers, and this week neither of us have prepared any answers, and I don't even know what the categories are. So this should be interesting, is the short of it.
Yes,
So
this is
far,
great. This is gonna test our JB fandom this
it's
week.
true. It's really going to test our knowledge, and I think we're going to get a good, authentic ranking. So let's see if I
Yes.
remember last week. Let's see if I remember my picks for last week. I remember both of ours for most hype song. I decided Hardline, and Richie went with Everybody Does.
Hmm.
Okay. Best lyrics. I think I went with Something, and Richie went with Happy to Be Here, question mark. Um,
No, I did not remember. If you remember,
you went with that for one of them
I
in that category.
yeah, Happy to Be Here was most underrated song is what I went
Okay.
with for that one.
Because I know you love that one.
Yes.
I know you love
Yes, I
that
do.
track. What did you pick for best lyrics? Oh,
Best lyrics,
Claws in Your Back.
I picked Claws in Your Back, yeah. Mhm.
There you go. Okay, good choice. Most overrated song. I remember we were both horrified at what the subreddit collectively had decided was the most overrated song.
Mhm.
What did I pick for this one?
No, we didn't pick it. I don't think we picked one at all. We were just like,
we
there's
might not
no
have picked
deserve
one for this. Well, that's an issue because instead of most overrated, this week we just flat out have worst song.
worst
Um,
song. Yeah.
and I'm not sure that's gonna have a winner either. But we coin flipped last week, so we can coin flip again this week. To decide who goes first. Were you? I was Jim last week, right? Or were you Jim on the pick?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah,
I was
that's
Jim.
correct.
Me,
Yes.
young Jim Dunn. Okay, got it. So it is. I am first again. It's my pick, my house, my rules. Category. Okay, I'm gonna go. We're gonna start in the middle this week. We're gonna cause a little anarchy.
Mhm.
I want to start with best chords,
Mhm.
and I have two answers for this one. I had because one of them maybe doesn't count. We put a couple of little asterisk rules on last week, so this one may not count. But there's a particular version of Red Door that she has on YouTube. That's like I don't even know how you say this word. It's Coulomb, not like in physics though. It's like a car or something, like a little like a tuk-tuk or whatever. But there anyway, there's a Red Door version that's like a session that's just sort of in it's not professionally recorded, not in a studio or anything, but it's literally just like her and a guitar, and the stripped back version of it is really cool, and the way that this one is played specifically is cool. But since I don't know if that counts because that's a little in the weeds of uh down the JB iceberg, I've decided it is I think I picked. Can I pick something twice? Because I just love the way that one sounds on guitar.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's
Okay.
okay. Yeah. There's no rules here. We make it up. Yeah.
I love the way that one sounds. I love to play it personally before I broke my high E string. Guitarists, you know the pain. Um, but I love to play that one, and I just think it's incredible to me that somebody can just sit down and produce that melody out of an instrument. You're like, "Oh, you know what would be cool here? This." And then just proceed to
Mhm.
play the most, you know, wicked like 8 bars of finger picking, you know, out there, but I'm gonna pick that one for now.
That's a good pick. I think I'm gonna go off the same album for best chords as well because um Sprained Ankle obviously very like acoustic guitar heavy, not a lot of crazy production. And what is it that she did? She literally recorded this record in less than a day because that's all the time she had to get it recorded. It was just a couple
Yeah,
hours, right? That
yeah,
yeah.
it was like a very limited time on it was like somebody had extra studio time. It was like, "Do you wanna" like, at the music school or whatever, and was like, "Do you wanna come in and just record this real quick?" And I think she talks about on that record too, getting a lot of time in at like the music school practice rooms and stuff. It was like I had to, you know, bribe the janitor to let me in to go to the practice rooms. You know, whatever. It's a cool story. There's some cool lore behind that album.
Hmm. So I'm gonna pick. I'm curious what you think of this because I don't play guitar. I don't. So I'm like the worst
Mm,
person to pick for best chords because I don't know what makes a song harder to play or easier to play on guitar. I don't know. I have no idea.
sure.
I'm not musically inclined whatsoever, which is why I'm doing. Which is why I'm yapping with you on this show, and instead of
That's
touring
fine.
the country as a
Between the two of
music.
us, we have such an average amount of music knowledge that we'll be fine.
So I'm gonna go with Sprained Ankle.
Okay. Um that one is hmm. I mean, it's a good choice. I like where you're coming from, and comes off of a good album. Like you said, there's a lot of drive from the acoustic accompaniment here. This one is cool because it's harmonics on the guitar, which are notoriously kind of difficult to play if you're not good at it. But the sound in the beginning is every time she picks, it's actually a harmonic. It's not just a note. So it's sort of this strange double picking that produces this unique kind of overtone with each of those notes. And it's really cool some of the other sessions that she's done where she'll have it on a loop pedal and be like reconstructing it from scratch. And this album is unique in that regard because it's pretty much just the artist, a guitar, and maybe a looper pedal. It's very stripped back and driven by the accompaniment and the lyrics. There's not a lot of overproduction here. So that one's cool. I like that choice.
The JB Reddit for best chords agrees with you and shows something.
Okay. But I like it. There's also a version of that one that is literally, it's just like very young JB in a parking garage with an acoustic guitar that's larger than she is playing this song. And it's so funny, but also just, I don't know, it's cool. I like to see where artists come from, like in that way, that when you first put music out as sort of an unknown entity, like how are you doing it? How are you presenting yourself? How are you marketing it? And to be so low budget but still get found and discovered and have people resonate with your music is cool. All right.
I agree. All right, next. What do we got next here?
I don't know. I said we're doing Anarchy today, so we're skipping all the way to the left. We're going to do a most emotional song. This one is a two-way tie for first for me. It is Go Home and Claws in Your Back, because both of those songs I have to be in the right headspace to decide to listen to. Otherwise, like, and I don't like to skip songs because they're all so good. If I'm like, I'm not in the right headspace to receive information that could hurt me right now at this moment, I have to skip some of these occasionally if they come up on shuffle. It is what it is. I do the same thing with Taylor Swift. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Go Home. That's what the JB Reddit shows as well, is Go Home. Actually, you know what's funny? I actually listened to that song like earlier this week when I was I think when I was adding some music to our shared playlist that we made.
Yeah, that's definitely
for JB.
We should tell the people, by the way, because that's definitely on that playlist. So we're gonna take a brief interlude for me to yap at you. This whole playlist is just me yapping at you, but
yeah.
Okay. I called it Brat Road Trip, and I shared it with Richie because it's a collaborative playlist. And this thing is bonkers. It's absolutely bananas. It's gonna give us whiplash. Like the first song on this, which I'm responsible for, I'll just say like our first couple. So I added Higher by Creed and Ain't No Love in Oklahoma, obviously from the Twisters soundtrack. Richie's added Live and Let Die, which is a great choice. But then also a few selected tracks from Bo Burnham's Inside, including Biden. And then thrown in there somewhere is like Go Home. There's Pitbull in here. There's the Challengers soundtrack. There's the other one that we won't talk about, that soundtrack. There's the Dune soundtrack. There's My Chemical Romance. There's Eminem in here. And then there's this huge chunk of Julien Baker. And it's really going to give us post-traumatic driving disorder, I think. It should be really interesting because I'm just envisioning this album or this playlist that's going to skip from like Turn Out the Lights into Room by Charlie XCX, because it's a real possibility that could happen. It's terrifying.
That's why I wanted to make it as chaotic as possible. So
We're only at like 7
So I've
hours.
just
So we have to add a little more. We're not quite there yet. We need like at least 8 hours minimum to get us both ways.
all right. Well, we'll have a think on that, and I'm sure we can add more.
I'm sure
I
we
put
can
some
make it
Sabrina
worse
Carpenter
somehow.
on there.
I did see that, yeah.
Put some Sabrina Carpenter on there. She had her short and sweet, great album, by the way. Great album.
Okay, I haven't dug into that one yet.
Yeah. I highly recommend it. It's really good. And it's really cool because like the thing I really appreciate about it is that Jack Antonoff produced a lot of the songs on there as well, but like she kind of is able to bounce around in different styles of pop. There's one that's like almost like country type even on there as well. I was like, okay, that's where you're gonna hook me. Is it's does all the, first of all, again, 35 minutes, really quick album. It's in, it's out, and there's some different styles of music involved in there. So everything's like, some maybe dancey pop, some more like stripped back type ballads in there. You got a little bit of country tune in there. So highly recommend it. Good stuff, Sabrina. Good stuff. Our
All right.
5 foot tall queen.
5 foot tall friend of the podcast, We Espresso.
Yes.
Okay, what even were we on?
Now that we're
before we
sidetracked,
derailed
I
this?
forgot what we're doing.
I don't know. I don't even know where we are. We were on okay, so JB Reddit voted most emotional song as Go Home. I think we were
Correct.
there. I think we
Yes.
finished. Okay.
Yes.
Next category.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna skip over to worst song since we're doing anarchy bracket.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't 100% my opinion because I do like this track, but I think you mentioned it last week, and there's one that JB calls out as being not her favorite, which is Distant Solar Systems. That was kind of like, let's see how many large words we can put in a song, you know what I mean? And it's funny because I have a coworker who knows Julien and knows Distant Solar Systems because he Shazammed it at a coffee shop one time. And I was like, oh, that's such like a Starbucks, like indie independent coffee shop playlist song. I get it. It makes sense there. So I'll go with that one because I feel like that's an easier choice. And I'm interested to know what the subreddit picked.
Yeah, again, this is another one that's like incredibly hard to pick, but I'm gonna agree with the JB subreddit because this is like I think it's the only one that really counts, and it's like kind of a cheat. But I think you mentioned it last week, but it's Over, which is the opening overture on Turn Out the
That's so
Lights.
cheating. That's so cheating.
It counts.
Did we decide
track.
if that's the one that Beans is credited on or not?
Okay, so I looked this up. Beans is not credited on any Julien songs. However, Beans is credited on a song by Lucy Dacus.
Of course. Okay. Oh, Beans. All right.
Yes. In fact, if you go to Genius, the Genius lyrics, and you look up, Beans has her own like little like producer credit on on Genius.
Oh yeah, I'm
So
in it right now. I'm in it right now. Beans in parentheses, Julien Baker's dog, is credited on Going Going Gone for group vocals. Now I'm interested to go back to see if like we can hear Beans, or was this just a fun credit that we decided to add?
I could have sworn there was one other song that Beans is on or credited on or something, but I can't remember what it is. I don't. And then
JB,
just
if you're
it didn't show
hearing
up on the
this,
Genius.
put Beans on the next record.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, last category. Most genius song. This one is really going to be me flying by the seat of my pants here because there are so many that we could pick for this. I don't know. Do you have any strong opinions while I think about it, or are you as lost as I am?
Well, here's the thing. So when I first saw this category, that was my out. We originally agreed that there was not going to be any boy genius a part of this part of any of these
Okay.
categories. But when you have a category called most genius in a Julien Baker Reddit page,
Okay.
that opens the door. That immediately opens the door.
That opens the door to other things involving
and
the word genius. Okay, got it.
yes, exactly. And so
Yeah.
my pick for this is because it's basically, and even Phoebe herself has called this like the song that was like that would be like the closer to the Julian Baker musical. It's very much a JB solo song, but put out on a Boy Genius EP. It's Powers,
Mm-hmm.
dude. Powers is legit one of my favorite Boy Genius songs for a reason, and so that's what I'm gonna go with.
I like that one. I do. And it's true. There are some songs that are on the Boy Genius records collectively that feature one member predominantly over the others. If you guys aren't deep into those records, there are some that split it very evenly, where like every member gets a verse. There's also some that really feature heavily one artist. So you'll be getting into like Anti-Curse, predominantly Julian. You'll be getting into $20 verse from all three members or contribution from all three members. We're in Love, predominantly Lucy. Letter to an Old Poet, predominantly Phoebe. So you get some spread and you get some play, and especially within the rest, I think each member gets a good chunk, and Powers is JB's contribution to that extra add-on to that album. Yeah, that's well done. I don't know what I want to pick here. They're all good. My initial thought is I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to Turn Out the Lights. I like Hurt Less, and I think that that song in the back half of that record doesn't get too much attention. I really liked that song when I first heard it, but I'm going to justify this because there's a companion piece by, I think he's a poet. He's a poet and an essayist. His name I'm going to butcher. I'm so sorry. Hanif Abdurraqib, and he's done a bunch of books and poetry collections and things, and just had one that came out. But he wrote a piece about Hurt Less, and it's so moving, and it blew me away the first time that I read it, because some people just have such a way of taking thoughts and feelings and articulating them, like being able to take such an abstract concept and be able to articulate it into words, and to do so in a way that you look at the words on the page and you're like, that's exactly what that is, but I couldn't identify what that felt like or what that sounded like until you said it, and now I can't think about anything else. And so go and read that piece, or we'll link it on the podcast as well. But like those two things together is a really good companion and a really moving work of art, and that record is amazing. So
I agree. I'm still trying. I haven't. It's funny. I actually haven't. Um, I've been meaning to read it over the last 2 years and have never gotten around to reading it. I think in large part because like anything, like you have to be in the right headspace to take in content that's that deep, and you
yeah,
actually have to think about it. And like as you know, 90% of the time, I'm not there. I'm not there. I'm too busy rewatching Last Jedi for the fourth time. Like brain shut off.
yep, I know. You gave The Last Jedi 4.5 stars. Your brain was shut off. I'm texting you the link right now.
I watched. Yes, I watched. I did. I also went back. Thank you. I went back and I watched Star Trek Wrath of Khan because I've been on. Apparently, I don't know why I decided to watch that. We might get into that in a second, but and I gave that 4.5 stars too. I think.
You did, because I just saw that before the podcast, because I was pulling it up to see if you had done anything on Letterboxd, and I saw that. We'll we'll circle back in a minute.
We'll start.
Are we good with our ratings here? Do we what did the
Oh yeah.
what did they
Yeah.
take?
Let me. Yeah. Thanks
The
for reminding me.
collective. Yeah.
Okay. So most genius song according to the Reddit, Funeral Pyre.
Love that one. That's a great choice. We talked about Funeral Pyre with the full band last week, and that one is legit.
Mm-hmm. So that's this week. Here's what we got next week.
Oh boy.
We have best song, best diss track, best music video, and best collaborator.
Best collaborator is so well. I was gonna say it's so easy. It's kind of a softball choice, but okay.
I think it's we have to be thinking about the same person.
I think we are.
Think.
We'll get there. No, we'll get there. Okay.
Next
That's
week.
good. No, I like next
on the
week
show.
because I don't think there's a wrong choice for next week, and there's not any really strong ones like worst song. You're like, oh no, overrated. Best diss track is going to be an interesting choice, but okay.
Yes, best diss track should be fun. Okay, so that's coming up on next week's show, everybody. That's coming up on next week's show.
There's something to look forward to. We're also gonna have Clancy tour for you guys next week, so it's gonna be probably another music centric episode.
Yes.
So stay tuned.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Our still to be named segment about Letterboxd. I really think we need to make a pun out of this. It needs to be like keeping it real, but like a movie reel, you know?
Yeah. I like that.
But there needs to be a pun in it somewhere. Otherwise, I'm gonna be unhappy.
I agree. It's way better than Letterbox Corner.
Well, it's not necessarily better, but it flows a little easier to the general audience, shall we say? But talk about it, because I have not. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I've never seen a Star Trek. I am a Wars versus Trek person, so I've not seen one. So I can't argue with you. So you're safe for this week. I can't argue with your rating, but
thank God.
I can't smoke you over your rating. But tell the people why we like The Wrath of Khan. I think I've heard this one though. I've heard this is a really good sequel.
Yes. This is. I think this is the highest rated Star Trek movie ever. I believe.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but anyway, real quick.
Quoted. It's too late. Quoted.
You said you were
FBI, get him.
You start. So, you said you were a Star Wars person.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, when I was younger, this was in the mid 90s, late 90s, Star Trek on TV was massive. So much so that there were 3 different TV series airing at basically the same exact time, which was insane, right? But like there was Next Generation, there was Star Trek Voyager, and there was Star Trek Deep Space Nine, all of which were basically more or less airing at around the same time, if not directly following each other. So, and I used to watch all 3 of those shows when I was younger. Definitely Star Trek: The Next Generation, which I used to watch, was the last thing I used to watch before I'd fall asleep every night before like I go to school the next day when I was, 9, 10, 11 years old, right? Before like I was up until midnight as a teenager. Right. But anyway, so I love Star Trek
midnight for the whole rest of your life. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, exactly. but when Mama Flo had to get me to bed on time at a certain time, Star Trek: The Next Generation was on. So that's what I would watch. I love that show, and I love the movies. And so there's a couple that I haven't seen, or at least I don't really recall. But Star Trek: Wrath of Khan is like the one that like really stands out. And I rewatched it again just last night, actually, because I was bored. I was like, I got nothing else to do. What am I going to do? Oh, let's watch Star Trek Wrath of Khan. As you do.
Sure.
You know?
Your random movie choices continue, because it was like, I'm going to watch a movie. What should I watch? Oh, let me pick the 8th Star Wars movie, just out of the blue. Or it's like, oh, let me pick the 2nd Star Trek. You're like, go in order. Help.
But anyway, yes, great movie, 4.5 out of 5. Mostly because It's got like two of the most memorable lines in like sci-fi movie history, or at least like scenes and lines in sci-fi movie history. It's got William Shatner yelling "Khan." It's got that, and it's also got the very end, the "Live Long and Prosper" scene.
Sure.
Spoiler: it's been out for 40 years, Jordan. I'm going to spoil the movie for you. If you
Okay,
haven't
go
seen
ahead.
it by now, it's okay.
You can't hurt me. You know, actually, I still don't
Yeah.
know how any of the Lord of the Rings go because I haven't seen one of those either.
That's
So I've avoided
crazy.
that for
That's
40 years. So we might as well just take something else off the table.
Yeah, so I mean, if you haven't seen it by now, it's okay to spoil it. It's in popular culture. And anyway, Spock dies at the end of Star Trek: Wrath of Khan.
I
He
think I
then
did know
comes
that.
back like almost right away in Star Trek and start the next one, Star Trek 3, to search for Spock. So anyway,
The search for
so it's
Spock, the
got
movie's like 5 minutes long. We're like, we found him. Roll the credits. Oh gosh.
actually that's pretty much like what happens, which is why it's not a very
There you go.
popular movie. Um,
Okay.
anyway, so it has those two scenes, and then Ricardo Montalban plays Khan in the movie, and he's like truly one of the most iconic villain performances in like sci-fi movies, and he's so good. And the dynamic between him and Kirk is terrific. Not a lot of action sequences, but that's okay. It's a fairly low budget movie that came out in like 1980. When did it come out? 1981. Stand by.
Don't ask
1982. It
me.
came out in
I
1982.
wasn't born. Don't ask me.
Yeah, 1982. So
Okay.
anyway, so yeah, like it's got that old feel to it, obviously, but like there are a couple scenes in there that there's one where like dude gets a worm implanted in his ear in a Star Trek, which is like insane. It was very anyway. 4.5 out of 5. Great movie. Highly recommend. Yeah.
All right. Well done. I don't have anything to add to my letterbox this week. I was slacking a little bit. But I do have our first weigh in on the argument of whether or not I could pull off a cowboy hat. And we do have a friend of the show that says yes. And that is really feeding my ego at the moment. So just so you're aware, collectively we are taking votes. I think there's a poll underneath the podcast episode, but let us know what you think. Okay. That's it. We only have one vote, so like realistically, you could swing the whole thing to no if you and a friend decided that you were going to bash my hopes and dreams. So just know that.
Right.
Like our one listener from
There's a
Ireland,
part of me that's
you
like,
could sway the vote.
who we hope is Hosier.
We hope it's Hosier, yeah.
There's like a part of me now that's like on a JB trip, which is like we just rent a truck, like a super dope truck with a really low gas mileage. Just crank the windows down, both of us wearing cowboy hats.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that we could get a half-ton pickup for, some horrible, awful, not reasonable amount for 2 days, 3 days. Probably. Just don't ask me to park it, but but yeah. Like, me and my little mid-size SUV, you're like, "Okay, now just add 5 feet on the back of it and try and street park it." Great, that'll go good.
No,
Okay.
terrible. No
But, I
good,
mean,
very bad, terrible idea.
no good, very bad, awful. Yeah, it's possible, I'm not ruling it out, but I'm also not ruling it in at this moment, at least until we decide that we need cowboy hats, and then we can progress from there. Okay, let's talk
Sure.
about the worst thing that happened today, since we only have 10 minutes left and we can spend as little time as possible discussing it. Let the people know. You're the motorsports expert. What atrocity occurred today?
Oh yeah, Dutch Grand Prix Formula Formula One brain cell is back, baby. Better than ever. I don't think I would count it as that, but we Max's home race, his 200 start, and things did not go well whatsoever.
I mean, they
Max
went
got
fine
this
at the
jump on the
start.
start, like we both. Yeah, Max got the start. Lando sucks on starts, just absolutely terrible. Like we all knew that was coming. I knew it was going to happen. You knew it was going to happen. And unfortunately, that was kind of the nothing much happened after that because Lando and his McLaren, which we believe he's cheating somehow.
That thing is such a rocket ship. I mean, even Oscar didn't have the pace to get by George Russell for a long time, and then didn't have the pace to get by Leclerc, who that Ferrari is essentially like a Flintstone car with the bottom cut out of it, and their drivers are running as fast as they can. You know what I mean? Like, how is it possible that your race winner from a couple of weeks ago, and in decisive fashion as it is, did not have the pace to get by those cars, yet that number 4 orange monstrosity finished 20 seconds ahead of first place. There's something fishy going on there, and I'm not necessarily even saying that from, like, a Red Bull perspective, but it's like, how did they go from being so far behind at the beginning of the season to putting 20 seconds on second place by halfway?
Yeah.
I get that there's development.
Somebody put
There's not that kind of development, right?
yeah. Somebody pointed out, and this is first race of the season in Bahrain. Max finished about 45 seconds ahead of Lando Norris week 1. This time he finished 22 seconds ahead. And so that's a minute across an entire, I don't know, like what, 300-kilometer Grand Prix. Like, that's pretty impressive.
Okay, so there's 2 options here because nothing in car development is a coincidence with Formula 1. I don't know if you would agree with that statement, but I feel like for the most part that's true. There either was something on the cars from the rest of the field that got no-no'd, right? Because we heard about that the FIA was cracking down on the asymmetrical braking on cars, and that there were going to be a few within the field that were affected by that. It didn't seem like it really did a whole lot as far as this week, but there was either something in the regulations that the FIA nerfed on every car that wasn't a McLaren or wasn't Lando Norris's car, not now gestures. Or McLaren is playing a little fast and loose with the rules and has done something that the FIA haven't figured out yet, or borderline breaches the rules. Like, we talked about the flexi wing, I think, earlier, that was like, it's borderline allowed. Because it's okay if it flexes, but it can flex up to a certain amount, and that they put a bunch of cameras on them, I think, at the last race weekend to see how much they were flexing. Like, is it within the allowed limits? It's no secret that teams try and get around the regulations, but there either was something that got taken off of literally all the other cars, or there's something on the McLaren that we haven't figured out what it is yet, like an extra cooling duct or a flexi wing or something that's making that much of a difference. Because that's insane over the course of the season.
And we're back.
Hey, welcome back. Yeah, I just talked through it. I was like, well, if I don't stop talking, then it'll be a more seamless continuity when Richie rejoins. As far as the audio listeners, the video listeners are gonna be like, what just happened?
We're back. That's on the FIA to figure out, man. I don't know. I'm stupid. I don't know anything about the technical regulations, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I literally only know that the formula part of Formula 1 is like because cars have to be up to a certain spec. I don't know what that is. Don't give me the measurements. I don't know what I'm doing.
I mean, yeah, this is what happened like in Formula 1, where it just things ebb and flow all the time. So I don't know. We'll see. It's gonna be like at this point, Red Bull, I don't know what they're doing, dude. Like they had 3 weeks to
Nothing.
figure their crap out, and just like I'm just like, okay, where's nothing, nada. And now, the constructors is like super close, and then the drivers is to the point where somebody pointed this out that if Lando Norris wins every race for the rest of the year with fastest lap,
which won't happen, but okay. Just
um,
saying.
and Max finishes P2, Lando would win the championship by 1 point.
And
So
it would be collectively the worst thing to ever happen because of the way that that child is acting at the moment, but okay. I'm over it. I'm fed up. But I don't know. Man, I get that there's ebbs and flows in a season, but to make up that much so dramatically is a question mark, especially cuz like I saw the graph today and it was like how much teams have sunk into upgrades and things like that. And I realize that upgrades don't always work. But the amount that a team like Aston Martin has put into upgrades, or the amount that even a team like Ferrari has put into upgrades, and they haven't really worked. They've helped them keep pace with the rest of the pack, but they haven't really done a lot. It's like, what black magic witchcraft is happening over on the McLaren pit wall that gave you 20 seconds? I'm lost.
It's
I'm
really incredible,
confused.
especially when you go back to last year when they weren't even barely contending for podiums, right? They were like they were a footnote. They were a complete footnote compared to even Ferrari last year, who I think probably finished second in the constructors. But
Sure, I mean
anyway,
you have to take out the RB19 when you talk about last season, but like every
yes,
other team.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, even this year, Mercedes has gotten a lot better. They're
Hmm.
competitive, but they're competitive at a normal and expected and reasonable amount.
Right.
I'm confused. I don't know.
All right, let's see what we got coming up next here. Let's see. We have next week we have Monza, so that should be interesting. And then we have after that we have a week off, and then we go back to back um, with our two of our favorite tracks on the circuit, Baku and Singapore. Um, of which I figured out this week that those races happen way, way earlier than all the other races for whatever reason. And so I will very happily be able to skip both of those races because I ain't waking up. One's at like 5 o'clock in the morning, the other's like 4. I'm like, nah, bro, I ain't waking up that. No. Mm-mm.
Let me see. Well, that's for you though. Um, yeah, it's Singapore is 8 a.m. for me. We're chill.
Yeah, that's
Baku is
crap,
7
bro.
a.m.
You're
You're so chill.
you're, you're gonna you're gonna have to roll with that on your own
Ooh,
and
the
fill me
bad
in
one.
afterwards.
No, the bad one is actually Las Vegas for some weird reason.
Yeah, that's like that happens at 1 a.m. Eastern time, which is stupid. So that's
Yeah,
fine for me.
terrible.
I'll be fine.
Terrible,
That's a
awful, no good, very
Yeah,
bad.
I'll be good. That's like that's 11 p.m. for me. I'm gonna be locked in. We're good.
That's still rough to watch a race at 11 p.m. I woke up earlier this season to watch 1 a.m. races, so don't bring that energy into the chat. You're either committed or you're not, my friend. Can we also say, I think we can talk about that Lewis had a very good race today. I want to mention that because we do like to follow Sir Lewis here on the podcast. He had a very good race today. He had a borderline undeserved, I think, obstruction penalty, grid penalty on Checo in qualifying. He started down the field in 14th.
Yeah.
He was 11th in qualifying, and then 14th, or maybe he was 12 and 15. But either way, he made up about 6 places today in the race, which was incredible, and did so with really good overtaking and really clean overtaking and good strategy.
Did he
There's
win driver of the day? Did you watch the
no,
end of the race to see
not even close.
who won?
Who do you think
Was it,
won?
was it Lando?
Yeah, the person with the biggest internet fan base. Yeah.
Silly. I did
Driver of
not.
the day is not a real award.
It is not. I didn't even finish watching the race. I think first of all, I was like barely awake for like most of the race. And so like I ended up shutting my laptop with like 5 laps to go. I was like, whatever, I'll wake up in an hour so I can watch Liverpool. That's exactly what
I
I did.
started on the Sky Sports stream, and then they started making me really irritated, and then I switched over to ESPN Deportes
F1
to
kids?
watch the rest
F1
of it.
kids?
Yep, F1 kids. And then driver of the day is a popularity contest, so I don't care. I voted for Lewis.
Good.
You also could have voted for Alex Albon because he had a good drive today too, and all of that got lost in the shuffle. So
where did he finish? Because he obviously
he made
got
up like
disqualified.
7 places. Yeah, so he had to start from 20th, but it wasn't actually last because Kevin Magnussen had to start from the pit lane for taking new engine parts. Because Haas will not be outdone about starting toward the back of the field. We almost got Haas points. We did not get Haas points.
Almost, yeah, it was close.
Alex Albon finished. He ended up finishing 14th. He started 20th
Pretty good
and
in that
finished
crap
14th.
box Williams.
It was, and he had kind of an interesting strategy and kind of some late pit stop and things like that. Fernando Alonso did score points. Pierre Gasly scored 2 points for Alpine, which is interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. And then all the rest of the usual suspects up the grid. But yeah, Nico finished 11th, and he was our best chance at Haas and Bayern this week.
Speaking of Haas, before I wrap up real quick, as of we were recording, I believe Haas is still stuck in the Netherlands. They cannot.
I thought I heard that they paid that.
Yeah. So according to the article that I read earlier, Gene Haas said he paid it on Friday, but as of Sunday afternoon, allegedly the payment had not been received. It seems that the reason why is because it's the weekend. If you pay something on Friday super late, as you know, with anything, like it takes a while for things to process on the weekend where a lot of banks close, etc., etc. So I think I have to wait till Monday to leave.
Nice.
Silly. All because they are being sued for money that they owe one of their former sponsors.
Yeah, Mazepin's old sponsor. So
yes,
still
exactly.
finding ways to get involved in F1 despite all of that drama and grossness. Anyway, the specter of Nikita Mazepin.
Yes. All right. Well, we had nothing to talk about this week, and we still went over past an hour. Incredible.
We did.
Our ability to yap is truly unmatched, I think.
That should be studied. Yeah. No, it's true. We did go a little long on some stuff, but we figured out how to make it. We're gonna have to cut some for Richie's technical difficulties too. But we do appreciate you all, especially the new folks that have been leaning into the podcast recently, that have been watching our new video episodes over on Spotify. That's the thing that we're doing now, so you don't have to go to YouTube to watch us. You can watch us on Spotify. Or that might be your worst nightmare and you would rather just hear us. So, listen to us on Apple Podcasts instead. Don't say we didn't give you choices. But we appreciate you all. Thanks for tuning in. We will bring you some more content next week. I think. Yeah, I'll be back. We might have some OHOBC on location content to bring to you, depending. We'll see. But we'll see. We've got some music for you coming next week, so stay tuned if that's your thing. But in the meantime, you can follow us at OHOBC Pod on Twitter, not X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I think that's it. Until we're not getting on Threads, so don't ask. But anyway, we'll see you next time. Thanks.